Prior to the open session, there was a closed meeting, and there were two items added to the particular closed agenda. And it was moved by Councillor Marshall and seconded by Councillor McCann that pursuant to Section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C25 as amended, Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound moved to a meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to B, personnel matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, a personnel update. D, labor relations or employee negotiations, succession planning, and organizational redesign, and a personnel matter was removed. E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, zoning matter, and Parry Sound Airport, and that was carried. Additions, under additions to the agenda, there have been some items that have been removed. Item 5.2, which was a deputation from Becky Pollock and Sue Woodhouse, has been removed, and there was 8.3, which has been withdrawn, and 9.11, naming of the trail signage. They've been withdrawn, and one of them will reappear back at the next meeting in October. Prioritization of the agenda. Any prioritization? Seeing none, mover and seconder for the agenda. Councillor Saulnier, Councillor Keith, that the council agenda for October 3rd, 2017 be approved as circulated. All in favor? That's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, mover and seconder for the minutes. Councillor McCann and Councillor Marshall. The minutes from the council meeting held September 19th, 2017 be approved as circulated. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried. Questions of staff? No questions? Oh, okay, all right. Correspondence, Ms. Boggs. Oops.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There we go. The first item of correspondence is from Gillian Forsay, who's a resident of Parry Sound. She's requesting consideration for any future positions on the Parry Sound area or Parry Sound Public Library Board. That was circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to the clerk and to the Parry Sound Public Library Board. The second letter is from Wendell Fisher, Chair of the Parry Sound Active Transportation Committee. He sent a thank you note for the completion of the trail link extending from Mall Drive along Parry Sound Drive to the Nobel Trail. Circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to file. Third item is from Susan Hersina, the Executive Administrator for the Parry Sound Downtown Business Association, regarding a recommendation by the board to accept the proposal received from Ontario Business Improvement Area Association, OBIAA, and Page by Page Consulting to develop a strategic plan for the Parry Sound DBA by working with the Downtown Steering Committee and the Parry Sound DBA Board. Circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to the Director of Development and Leisure Services for follow-up. Item 4.4 is a letter from Wendell Fisher regarding his resignation from the committee of 8 to 80s committee due to health reasons. The next one is from Bill McMeekin, who's a volunteer at Camp Ochagayas, and he sent a thank you letter for allowing them the opportunity to make a presentation to Council on September 19th. Circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to the file. The AMO watch file for September 14th was circulated, which is Municipal Industry News, circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to myself for inclusion in the e-agenda. And the final piece of correspondence is from Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, a media release regarding the future of species at risk policy. Their title is A Question of Credibility. It's regarding FONOM's species at risk policy concerns with respect to the forestry industry. And that was circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to myself for inclusion on the agenda, and that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So next are deputations, and we only now have one deputation, and that is from Trevor Pinn, our Director of Finance, and POA Court Services, demonstration of the budget tool software. Welcome, Trevor. And
through your worship, this is the second year that we've done a online budget simulator. What we did this year is, thanks to our IT department, we are able to get this big page on the town website so that there is a link directly to the simulator. So if you go to parrysound.ca, you can then click on the simulator. That will take to a very quick survey that we are hoping that residents will go to and fill out. There's a number of questions. Last year we had about 41, and we're hoping that with some added knowledge and the fact that this is the second year that we'll have a number of more residents go to this website. It's very easy to navigate, and this year we changed it a little bit. So rather than having to put in your assessment, we're simply putting you in the position of council and staff and trying to balance the budget. So you can increase, decrease, or maintain levels of spending to certain departments. And any change that you make, you have to do a counter change to balance within $60,000. So you can't add, $100,000 to one department without either cutting somewhere else or increasing the tax levy. So it's very easy to just drag, and there'll be some information about what happens if you change it. And for the sake of time, I'll let people, when they get to it, go. There are a number of sliders that you just simply slide, and then there's some yes or no questions, which would include household hazardous waste going to year round, which is something that we've been discussing for a year, some garbage questions, as well as splash pad, public tap, Wi-Fi questions that have been coming up in the last couple of years. And this is an opportunity for residents to provide some feedback. There's also some questions which aren't based on the budget, which is just receiving utility bills and tax bills electronically. That is now an option that we are exploring, as well as credit cards to pay property taxes, just to kind of leverage and find out what the interest uptake is. And then there's some demographic information. And that is it. So again, you have to be balanced within $60,000, which makes it a little bit easier than when we do the budget and we have to be balanced to zero. But it does allow the public to have a say and get their voice heard. So the hope is that residents will go to parrysound.ca, click on the link, or they can go directly at parrysound.citizenbudget.com.
Councillor Keith.
Yes, I'm just wondering, Mr. Pinn, how long will residents have that opportunity before there's a cutoff date?
Through your worship, we are running this to the end of November. I believe it's the same week where the presentation of the budget binder will actually be made to council. So there is about 2 months to have your say. The hope is that with doing this presentation on the live stream, as well as social media, and the fact that it's the second year, we'll have more uptake than we did last year. We had a number of people try to do it in January of last year, including a few that did it after the budget was passed and wanted to have their say. So I would recommend that people do it before we pass the budget.
Councillor Horn.
Thanks. Are the results for the questions captured and published?
Through your worship, when you submit, you will be able to see what others have said. Unfortunately, there are 3 test surveys that went through from the programmer, so there is a little bit of a skew slightly. But when we get up to 60, 70 people, hopefully that won't be an impact.
Any further questions? No? Thank you. Appreciate it. Next is Mayor and Councilors' reports, and we'll start with Councilor Marshall tonight.
Yes, good evening, everyone. On Thursday, September 28th, I chaired a regular meeting of the West Parry Sound District Museum Board. The cold summer translated some excellent summer season numbers for the museum, very strong attendance throughout June through September. We also got a bit of a peek of what was going to be coming through the museum as far as exhibits in 2018. While I can't comment on anything specific at this time because they haven't been all solidified, I'm really excited with what's coming through, and we'll be speaking on them further once we've got those exhibits for 2018 confirmed. The following day, September 29th, I attended the semi-annual meeting of the Parry Sound Municipal Association, which was held this year in McKellar. It was a great day. We had updates from Norm Miller from Queen's Park, Dr. Jim Chirico from the North Bay Parry Sound Health Unit, and an update from our own Dave Thompson regarding non-urgent patient transportation and the Henvey Inlet EMS coverage. And had a really informative presentation from Dwayne Wayner, who's the president of Highland Brewery, about how his company worked with levels of government from the municipal, provincial to the federal level to help build his brewery business, and got some good ideas, hopefully, that would have been nice if some of our local brewers might have been there to listen to them, and hopefully use them as a resource people, because these people have already done it, and they had samples of the beer at lunchtime too, and the beer was pretty good. So always good when you bring samples. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Borneman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. I've had a light week, or light couple of weeks. On September 21st, I attended a meeting of the Downtown Steering Committee. The item with respect to the DBA Strat plan is on this evening's agenda. There was also a lively conversation about traffic controls, crosswalks, and pedestrian safety in the downtown core. That's a theme that's come up over and over again at DBA meetings as well. It's been several years since we've actually done any sort of traffic study locally, and I think it would be appropriate that Council direct Mr. Brown to allot some monies to do a focused study with respect to the downtown core and standardizing the traffic signals and figuring out how it is that we can make things more safe for pedestrians in Parry Sound. I think, you know, we all realize how busy things are in the summertime, and I think safety is a situation that we not only want and appreciate, I think it's a necessity if we're going to be an active and successful tourist destination. The only other thing I'd add for my report is I'd like to extend my condolences to the family of Wendell Fisher. He was a frequent and persistent visitor here and an active contributor to a number of our committees. He stayed true to his values, even in the letter he wrote before his passing. So I send my sympathies out to Barb and the family, and I hope they get through this time. It'll be difficult for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McCann.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Council and staff, and people here and watching at home. I too would like to send my sympathies out to Barb and her family on the passing of Wendell. Last time around we said goodbye to Gord Adams, and this week it's Wendell. Like Gord, he will be missed a lot, and as Councillor Borneman has said, he was quite a contributor to a number of committees, and these are people that certainly leave a legacy behind because they've made such a difference, such a positive impact. The Park to Park Trail Association meeting was held in Orville on September 21st. I did not have the opportunity to attend that. And another one of my meetings, Belvedere Heights monthly board meeting, was just up on September the 27th, and I was out of town, so I didn't make it to that one. Although I would like to, just from the notes from the meeting, mention a couple of things that are underway. There's a resident survey satisfaction being conducted right now. And as the results come in, people seem to be very happy with both residents, and the residents' family members seem to be happy. There are 100 surveys went out, and we're expecting most of them to be returned by the end of this year. Also, the Belvedere Heights board will be sending out, or its administration, I should say, will be sending out the board's minutes to the supporting municipalities. I gather that's a practice that had fallen away at some point. Yes, and as Councillor Borneman has just mentioned, the AGM is coming up on October 19th, and that's going to be in the auditorium at Belvedere, and I think the time is 6:30, and the public is invited to that. The Community Support Services launched a new website. Check it out. It's parrysoundsupportservices.ca. And there's lots of information there on what they do. And if you need services for you or for your loved ones, just check it out and avail yourself to the information and the contact form that's there. And that's pretty well it for my report. So I thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sonia?
Good evening, everyone. Those in attendance, those watching on television. I'd like to apologize for missing 2 weeks ago's meeting. I was having some tendon work done on my hand, and not all of me made it out of that operating room. I'm feeling much better now. Thank you. I was fortunate enough, Rob Menz sat down and got me caught up with the status of everything that's going on with the town of Parry Sound. And we sat down yesterday for a grueling 2.5 hour to 3 hour meeting. And I'm looking forward to the next 2 weeks.
Thank you. Councillor Horn?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. On September 25th, I attended the area planning board meeting. There was a deferral of a consent for Whitestone. There was a consent approval application for Whitestone, and also another consent application for McDougall and Carling together, and one more consent application for McDougall. The planning board has had a number of applications and consents over the last few months, and going forward, more coming in. So very healthy budget, and thanks to Councillor Keith and her lead at the planning board, all is well. So thank you very much. On October 2nd, which was last night, I attended the special council meeting for succession planning, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you for the compliment, Councillor Horn. The only other thing I can add in speaking to, of course, council staff and the public tonight is that we had the fun again of striking at ad hoc budget committee. The same 3 people seem to have volunteered again, so yippee. The last thing I would say also is during the summer, we were lucky enough to have a university student be involved with the planning board in going through all the old files, and digitalization occurred with many of the files, not quite completed, but she certainly did a really fine job. So we really appreciate all that effort there. The other 2 things I would want to say also is in paying my respects and sympathy to the to Wendell Fisher's family. And also on a positive note, I hope that Thanksgiving, which is coming up, I hope everybody enjoys themselves, but drives safely and takes care of each other. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Council staff and public, September 21st, I was in Mississauga, and I made a presentation at a human resources symposium that AMO put on. My presentation was on affordable housing, and my co-presenter was Natalie DeRoche, Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Housing. September 28th, I started the day in Toronto at Queen's Park at 9:30 in the morning for an MOU meeting with the Minister of Municipal Affairs and the Minister of Finance, along with some of their staff. And I was off to the AMO offices for an AMO executive meeting for a few hours. And then at 5:30, we had a special committee of the whole AMO board meeting, which wrapped up about 8:30. So that made an extremely long day in Toronto with meetings. The next day, September 29th, was the regular AMO board meeting. One of the items of discussion was Ministry of Health has put out a discussion paper on aligning public health units with the LHINs. They want to reduce the number of public health units within the province. The history here with public health in Parry Sound is that we were originally Parry Sound Muskoka, in which case we helped fund the new public health building in Gravenhurst. And then the province decided that we were going to be with North Bay, and then we're Parry Sound North Bay, of which we're helping to fund their new offices in North Bay. And now what's happening within this paper is that they want to align us with Simcoe Muskoka. So the question is, what happens to our Northern Ontario status if we're aligned with Simcoe Muskoka? I immediately sent a text to Councillor Marshall, who was at District Municipal, to let Virginia Onley know, who's chair of the District Municipal Association, that this was being discussed at our board meeting and that there will be a paper coming out that we'll be able to have further discussion on this, a paper from AMO. This could be serious because we will be totally up in the air as to what's going on. There are no answers from the minister. There are no answers from anyone on the reason for this. Widely, it's not accepted across the province that people like the public health units the way that they are. And I don't know, the minister and the special committee that they put together seems to have another opinion. So we'll see what comes out of it, but we need to be aware and we need to be on top of this. So as soon as the paper material comes, well then I'm sure we'll be having discussions about it. This morning was the banner unveiling, and the municipal office here at the front, on the front steps. I'd like to thank Rick Lund and the committee, the high school students, those sponsoring the banners, and our town staff. It was a great morning, and under sunny skies. And the 4 banners, basically it's 2 banners with different individuals on each side. One is in front of the town office, and on that one is Francis Pegamagabo and Jack Patterson. And then the one across the street at the pharmacy has a picture of Ernie Wathy and Sherman Irwin on it. And I think this is an amazing project, and I'm really pleased that everyone undertook this project and that we were able to help through the town with this particular project. It goes a long way in recognizing the commitment and the sacrifice that those individuals made. And I made a point this morning to mention too that when I was in Toronto, I happened to, and although I was too busy to go to any of the actual Invictus games, but the games were on while we were there. And the hotel we were in the most, a number of the athletes were there from Great Britain and Australia, France, USA, Canada. There was, yeah, it was quite a melting pot for the athletes and their coaches. And the point is that, we need to make sure to bring the youth along so that they understand that sacrifice and commitment, because those are our new veterans that are there, and they need recognition for what they've done in their service. So I think it's wonderful, the program and what it's doing, and I think we need to continue to recognize that there are people out there that lay down their lives to make sure that we have a safer one ourselves. So, and finally, I would like to extend my condolences to the Fisher family on the passing of Wendell. Wendell was certainly one that was very tenacious about active transportation for many, many years. I mean, he and I had many discussions on, what should be done in the community and could be done in the community. And I think he also realized there were financial constraints on what had to be done. And, there are certain attitudes too and mindsets on how people see things, and you work through that, and it takes time. But, now we have bicycle paths on some of our streets, and we will continue to have more. We have a nice connecting link, which I've heard wonderful things from people about that really appreciate it between the town and McDougall. And, you know, our 8 to 80 Cities Committee, all things that he kept pushing for and kept the inspiration of the community going on that. So that's my report. Thanks. Oh, yep. So we have some ratifications from closed. Direction was provided to staff to bring forth the final results of the succession planning for Parry Sound to the October 17th, 2017 council meeting, and direction was provided to staff regarding a zoning matter. And now the resolutions. Flip this over here. Item 8.1, moved by Councillor Saunier, seconded by Councillor Keith. Whereas Local Government Week aims to increase youth and public awareness about the important role local government plays in our communities, be resolved that October 15th to the 21st, 2017 be proclaimed as Local Government Week in the town of Parry Sound. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Have some water, Rob, please. And I take it we will be doing some sort of program. Okay, good. Thanks. Item 8.2, moved by Councillor McCann, seconded by Councillor Borneman, whereas the Council for the Town of Parry Sound has previously approved the draft consolidated audited financial statements for the Town of Parry Sound for the year ending December 31st, 2016, and whereas the town issues 2 supplementary statements for the administration of the POA Court and the administration of the Land Ambulance Service. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council for the Town of Parry Sound approves substantially as attached as Schedule A and B the audited statements for the administration of the POA services and the administration of the Land Ambulance Service for the year ended December 31st, 2016. Any discussion? No? All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Saunier, that Council accepts the offer of purchase from Scott Ben Michaud for the purchase, that's right, purchase of the CN station and property located at 1 Station Road, Parry Sound, in the amount of $80,000, and further that Council directs staff to retain the services of a solicitor to prepare the final agreement of purchase and sale, and further that the net proceeds from the sale be placed in the Capital Asset Legacy Reserve Fund. Discussion? Councillor McCann and then Councillor Marshall.
Thank you. So this is for Mr. Brown then. Do we know what kind of plans the buyer has for the building?
Through your worship, no, we have no idea what he's planning for the building.
Councillor Marshall.
And just for Mr. Brown, is it a conditional offer or is it a firm offer?
Through your worship, it's a firm offer.
Good. Anything further? Councillor Borneman.
Mr. Brown, is it, I guess the bottom line is it possible that this is being done just on speculation and the building may continue to sit idle?
Through your worship, excuse me, my understanding is that the building will be renovated for some purpose. I do not believe that it will sit idle.
Councillor Keith.
I think my question is actually for Mr. Penn. I'm just wondering, approximately once the real estate and lawyer fee is deducted from that, what sort of fee are we anticipating that we'll end up with, and where will that money go?
Through your worship, the resolution as we typically do with these type of disposals says that it will go to the Capital Asset Legacy Reserve Fund. And my guess is you're probably looking 75,000, give or take, depending on the lawyer.
All right. Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Item 941, moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor Marshall, that council authorize staff to single source the delivery and installation of one Reef Plus DDE-2500 ice rink desiccant dehumidifier from Chimco Refrigeration for an approximate total of $40,000, including HST, and that it be funded from the Building Replacement Reserve. Discussion. Councillor Horn.
I think if Ms. McNamara just has a quick explanation for the public and why we're doing this.
Thanks, Councillor Horn. If I may, through you, Your Worship. Yep. During initial ice startup operations this year, our 2008 older model dehumidifier blew a compressor. We brought in the experts, the technicians who service this type of equipment, and we were advised that repairs are not an option. Due to the make and model of this type of machinery, our money is best spent on a new dehumidifier. The BOCC does require two dehumidifiers to operate effectively, and that's why I'm here with this act this evening.
Councillor Borneman, then Councillor Keith.
Ms. McNamara, this is an electric dehumidifier. Is there a particular reason why we're not replacing the gas with gas?
Ms. McNamara?
If I may, through Your Worship, there is an absolute reason why we're not replacing gas with gas. Gas dehumidifiers will be obsolete as of 2020. And that's a type of model that is in the state of disrepair. That's why we're going to the new electric version.
Councillor Keith?
Yes, I have two questions. One is, Ms. McNamara, given that it will be an electric dehumidifier, what happens if the electricity goes off? Do we have a backup generator so that matters can keep continuing and you know, the arena can be taking care of the ice?
Through Your Worship, we do not have a backup generator.
Okay, so that one is out. The other, I want to be clear, what is the anticipated or length of time you figure on having this new dehumidifier?
In speaking with the contractor today, we're looking at a 3-week install date.
3-week installation, 3 weeks you hope to have it installed, and therefore, what do you figure is the average length, considering we already have one, so the two would be the same types. So could you advise me how long the lifespan is anticipated?
The anticipated life cycle of the new unit is a minimum of 10 years. That's if we do the required maintenance and upkeep annually of the new unit.
Anything further? No? All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Sonia and second by Councillor Keith that upon the recommendation of the Downtown Steering Committee, Council accept the proposal from the Ontario BIA Association and Page by Page Consulting for the development of a Downtown Business Association strategic plan in the amount of $8,500 attached to Schedule A. Discussion. Councillor Borneman?
Only add that this is one of the few issues where both the steering committee and the DBA are in concurrence. So I would, on that basis, hope that council will approve this and we can move forward and get this done.
Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. So let's get this done. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann, that upon the recommendation of the Facade Improvement Review Committee, Council approve the Pardon My Garden and Black Tie Affair application, being 35 Sequin Street in the amount of $1,877.50. Discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Councillor Borneman?
I have a question for Ms. Middaugh. There's $25,000, as I recall, in this fund, so are we continuing to accept applications, and are there others? Will there be others coming forward in the relatively near future?
Ms. Middaugh?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the deadline for applications closed on Friday, September the 29th, and there are 5 others that have been received. And Mr. LG, who is the staff lead on this committee, will be scheduling a meeting with the committee, and I'm sure there will be other recommendations forthcoming. So it has been very well subscribed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moved by Councillor Horn and seconded by Councillor Saunier. The Council of the Town of Parry Sound approved and adopt the attached standard operating guidelines for the fire department use, attached to Schedule A and Schedule B, and further, that future amendments or individual guideline approval shall be implemented by a consensus of the Parry Sound Fire Department chief officers. Discussion. Councillor Horn.
Mr. Thompson, I was wondering if you could explain to the public why this was done and the outcomes that you're hoping for. And thank you for the report.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I've lost all my partners up here in the past 20 seconds.
Mr. Pinn's coming back to start with you.
Thanks, Trevor. Moral support.
It was short-lived.
Wow, sorry, I didn't mean to clear the room. I'll let the crowd leave. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, standard operating guidelines, the best way to think about them are the fire department rules. They're the rules that we operate under. We operate under them for operational purposes, what it is we do when we go to calls, what vehicles we take, how we operate when we're on scene, who's in charge, all those sorts of issues. And then they're also for administrative details, things like promotions within the fire department, how we conduct training, how we chain of command issues, all those sorts of things. So that's the purpose behind standard operating guidelines. What we've done here is we partner so much now with our mutual aid group, the fire departments that are around us. We depend heavily on each other when the chips are down, when we're having serious operational fires. That's par for the course now. It's what we do. And one of our ideals here was to standardize all our operational guidelines that deal with the fire ground operations, what we actually do on a fire scene with our neighboring fire departments. That way we train to the exact same rules, and we can train together with common rules at that point. And when we go to fire scenes, we're all operating under the same rules. And we have great cooperation amongst the fire departments in the area. It's a fantastic thing. And by doing this, we're hoping that we can streamline operations so that everyone knows what each other is going to be doing when we're there. That was the main goal. There's 2 sets of guidelines that you have. The other set is a set of guidelines that's very specific to the Parry Sound Fire Department. As you can imagine, from an administrative standpoint, every fire department operates slightly differently. They may have different officers in charge. They may have different structures, different rules, and of course different trucks that roll to calls, all those sorts of things. So it is still necessary for us to have rules or guidelines that are very specific to our own fire department here in town. So that, I think, sums up what's going on and what we're hoping to achieve.
Yep. Follow up?
Just a quick follow-up. So the documents are here in the report and in our minutes. Can the public have a chance to view them?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. One of the other major changes that we did was we have made all the documents now AODA compliant. One of the reasons for that was that we only place AODA compliant documents on our website. So we will now be placing those once we have everything finalized on our website, and the public, other fire departments can view them, whatever the case. And that's just a good, transparent thing to be doing.
Okay, Ms. Boggs and then Councillor McCann.
Sorry, I just wanted to point out that the public can view them right now on the agenda. Yes.
Councillor McCann?
So comment then for Chief Thompson. I was impressed going through the statements, and is this that when people sign up to volunteer, I guess it's more than just learning how to climb a ladder and point a hose. There seems an awful lot, and is this the kind of material that the volunteers as well as staff need to know? And if so, I'm really impressed.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, a couple points. First of all, the councillor brings up an excellent point about the amount of work sitting in front of you. And I would be very remiss if I didn't give credit where credit was due. And one of our firefighters in particular, Oliver Maloney, had a great deal to do with pulling these all together. He sat on a committee with people from the other fire departments. He did a lot of conversion of documents. He did a great deal of research, as did other firefighters. But I do want to credit specifically Oliver with doing so much work in pulling these together. To answer the councillor's question, yes, absolutely. When new firefighters come on, they get our standard operating guidelines. It's the rules we work to. We also utilize the standard operating guidelines almost on every training night. We will have the guidelines out that are pertinent to that particular training session, and the firefighters will be reminded of those rules and why they're there, and everything else that goes on with that. Every firefighter has a set of the rules, and we'll be providing new documents to all the firefighters and going over them with all the firefighters over the next many months to get everyone up to speed on minute changes that maybe have happened in this set as compared to other sets. These aren't the only rules that we have. There's also a significant document called Section 21 Guidelines, which come directly from the Ministry of Labor, which are fire department's rules as well. So when you sign up for the fire department, you sign up for a lot of reading and a lot of training and gaining a great deal of knowledge about how we do operations, and this is part of it.
Yep.
And just as a sidebar, I know that you've been looking for volunteers. How is that coming along?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we have just closed our recruitment process and had an initial meeting with the people who applied, and we have 6 candidates who we moved into that session. They met minimum requirements, and actually starting this Saturday, they'll be going through a series of physical and aptitude tests, as well as an interview process to make sure that their ideals are going to line up with the ideals of the fire department and be able to move forward with us.
Thanks very much. Well done.
Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Item 10.5.1, moved by Councillor Marshall, seconded by Councillor Borneman. The bylaw number 2017-6772 being a bylaw to appoint Nathan Jeffrey as a municipal law enforcement officer and to repeal bylaw 2002-4443 be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor Marshall, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. And they better sign it if they want to get out of here. Okay, so moved by Councillor Sonia, seconded by Councillor Horn. The bylaw number 2017-6773, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Sonia, seconded by Councillor Horn, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. So, prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. The next regular meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled to take place at 52 Seguin Street in the council chambers located on the top floor. Public access to the building is off Gibson Street. The next regular meeting of council is Tuesday, October 17th, 2017 at 7 p.m. All regular council meetings will be held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month except January and August, where only one regular meeting will be held for each of those months. Regular and special meetings are now live streamed. Please check news and public notices on our website at www.parrysound.ca for instructions to watch live or to see earlier council meetings. Agendas, changes to the council meeting schedule, and notices of special council meetings will be posted on the town's website at www.parrysound.ca under news and public notices prior to a council meeting. The public is able to view an electronic copy of the complete agenda with attachments on the town's website. Just search council calendar and the date of the meeting. Should you wish to receive the combined agenda via email, you may make that request on our website or contact the clerk at the municipal office. The minutes of the council meetings will be posted within 2 days after the council meeting on the town's website and on the bulletin board located in the municipal office entrance. Your TV, formerly known as Cogeco, will continue to air the regular Parry Sound Council meetings on Wednesday at 9 p.m. and Saturday at 9:30 a.m. following a regular council meeting. For your TV listings, contact www.tvlistingscogeco.ca until further notice. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thanks for coming, Steph.
Yeah.